Okay, on to our next skills theory session. I'm so excited today to be joined by Olivia. Hello, Olivia.
Hi, Celine.
So Olivia I'm so excited to have you, Olivia, because all of our other sessions today, over the next few weeks, are from leaders within enterprise doing skills-based work within enterprises. And of course, Olivia is doing fantastic work with her team and colleagues, with the incoming talent, the talent of tomorrow, students, helping them to think about their skills, articulate their skills and be as prepared as possible for the changing world of work. We love Olivia at Cappfinity and the whole Kingston team for all the incredible work that they're doing, award-winning, landscape changing, super, super excited to hear your progressive voice. So welcome, Olivia, to the series. Would you like to just introduce yourself to everyone today?
Amazing. Thanks, Lena. What an intro. Hi, everyone. I'm Olivia Trodden. I am the Interim Associate Director of Careers and Employability at Kingston University. As Lee mentioned, we have a real strong focus on skills development in our students through our Future Skills programme. We'll come on to more of that in a bit more detail as we go through the chat, I'm sure. But my role is essentially to oversee our career service, which plays a real pivotal role in implementing the Future Skills programme at Kingston.
Thank you, Olivia. And as I said, you and the team are doing such incredible work. I want to start with a fundamental question, because we know worldwide there are different views on this. But what does skills mean to you?
It's a really interesting question. And I think, like you say, there are lots of different perspectives that you could take on answering it. So I've thought about it kind of from a personal perspective, but also from the perspective that we take at Kingston as well. And I think ultimately for me, skills mean potential and they represent potential.
Yeah.
So particularly in the context of higher education, when we're looking at the student journey and the journey that they go through with us during their time at university. It's all about helping them to recognize their existing skills, develop new ones, gain new experiences, and ultimately for us about being able to articulate them in order for them to be successful in their chosen career paths.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, potential is like a probably a really interesting word for me, and kind of that really represents kind of our approach to skills development as well. And I
Yeah.
think kind of when you're thinking about that journey, at each step of that journey, they're unlocking new possibilities, and
Mhm.
that represents new potential,
Mhm.
and that's really exciting. It's a really exciting space for us to be in, for us to see for our students, as well. So yeah, I gain a lot of kind of energy around from that. I have a lot of passion for that as well. I think the other bit, when I was thinking about this, was around actually kind of thinking about skills as being the building blocks for confidence as well. And that, our students, for us, may come in lacking quite a lot of confidence around kind of career thinking, and the way that they, or even just around kind of their own abilities. And actually through what we're trying to do through the Future Skills program is to kind of actually build that confidence, give them those building blocks
Mhm.
to then recognize their potential, and effectively, positively impact their career journeys post university.
Oh, I love that. We're definitely singing off of the same. I think that's what I find so exciting about the skills piece as well, is that potential. It feels like we're in an era where we can genuinely start to unlock the potential of more people. And
Mm,
then the articulation bit, I think, is key.
mm,
When we published our skills guide last year, we took a reasonably provocative stance in saying, is the skill, we know there's a skills gap, but is the skills gap
yes.
as wide as we're all fearing it is, or actually is the gap around articulation and
Mm,
uncovering of skills? Do we
mm,
really believe that the skills aren't there in our, humankind?
yeah.
Not just that we aren't doing enough to equip.
Mm,
So, your students are so lucky to be getting that that investment and that development, because we know that that is a gap in workforces. So
Yeah.
that's brilliant. Okay. And then why at Kingston are you taking such a powerful focus on skills?
So I think for us at Kingston, thinking about our specific kind of unique kind of context, we are a widening participation university. So
Mhm.
we have a lot of students from underrepresented backgrounds. We're not just talking about ethnicity, but also, for example, they may be the first in their families to go to university, and they may be from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And having a real diverse mix of students from those types of backgrounds presents kind of a unique set of challenges for them when trying to access the graduate labour market. So once they go through university and they come out the other side, when they are then presented kind of or kind of going into the market at that point up against students from very different backgrounds who may not have had the same challenges, what we have seen over time is that our students really struggle when they get into that arena. And so what we have been trying to think about is actually how can we support our students in a better way, in the way that is best for them, kind of meets them where they're at, in order to help them be as successful as they possibly can be,
Mhm.
when they are going up for very competitive roles, and those kinds of things.
Mhm.
One of the things we recognize as well is that for a lot of our students, they may not have the social capital, for example, to
Mhm.
gain skills and experience in the traditional way. They might not be able to have, a summer internship at, their parents' best friend's company, or, those kinds of things, because it just doesn't exist for them.
Yeah.
So actually, how can we help them to develop those skills, and in turn kind of those potential opportunities and possibilities, um that in a way that is equitable. So it's kind of evening the playing field for
Yes.
our
Yeah.
students, because
Yeah.
again we have a real mix. So there may be some who can do those experience opportunities, but there will be others that don't have
Mhm.
caring responsibilities, who
Mhm.
can't take the time away from
Mhm.
home.
Mhm.
So yeah, we really recognize the need to create those equitable chances for students to develop skills and experience. And we've taken uh, a really bold step to embed those into the curriculum for all of
Mhm.
our undergraduate students
Mhm.
at all levels.
Mhm.
And so by putting it into the curriculum, it's not an extracurricular offer, so it's not something they're having to do on top of their studies. It is all kind of tied up in their course,
Mhm.
and they are able to develop those skills, gain those kind of key experiences, in the classroom, and so it's kind of bringing industry in and bringing kind of the wider kind of um, yeah, bringing industry into the classroom, but then also kind of allowing them to develop skills and the right ways to articulate kind of what
Mhm.
they're doing,
Mhm. Yeah.
literally embedded into their course and as part of their course context. So it's discipline specific as well.
Yeah. When you were speaking, I had this like visual in my mind of you kind of building this really solid bridge between
Mm.
university and the world of work and all these bricks that you're putting in, and then for the students to be walking across with all of this confidence. How?
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's such powerful work that you're doing. Um,
Mm.
I'm really interested in hearing about what you're doing and some of the details.
Mm.
Before that, just curious, how long have you been doing this work? How long ago did you kind of realize that gap and get the fire in the belly to do something?
Mm.
How many
So
years?
it's been about, so we have been kind of aware of the need to provide very tailored support for our students in this space for a number of years now. it really started to pick up momentum. We had this kind of moment of serendipity in at the university where at kind of career service level, we
Mhm.
were recognizing the need to really, it was actually to do with the awarding gap between which we recognize between Black students and white counterparts,
Right.
and it and we really recognize the need to do something about that and to try and affect kind of some change that would address that discrepancy. Um, and so we were thinking about how we can embed that, how we can do, and actually talk to a lot of universities. That's not unique to Kingston,
No.
across the sector,
Yes.
everyone is grappling with how can they kind of
Mm.
close awarding gaps, how can they better support and
Mm.
embed kind of skills development into the curriculum. Um, but for us, what was then also happening at senior level, so kind of from our vice chancellor, actually, he was also recognizing kind of the gap in the market around kind of skills development.
Mhm.
And it led to our Future Skills campaign. And actually, so the campaign is slightly different to the program, and they operate kind of alongside each other. But the campaign is very much around working with business to understand what are their key future skills. So what are the skills that they are looking for the future? And then how can we embed that back? So how do we then kind of put that into the curriculum from there? So we
Mhm.
did a huge piece of work with YouGov where we surveyed over 2,000 businesses.
Mhm.
So this was in kind of 21, 22.
Mhm.
Um, and we from there we created kind of a future skills league table, so a table of skills that on the back of that research.
Mhm.
But from there, we were then able to create our graduate attributes. So based on that research, it's really grounded in industry research,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
which is so important. So it wasn't just us kind of putting our finger in the air, being like, "Oh yeah, we think kind of these skills might be important for students to develop." It was really kind of grounded in research. Um, and from there, we were then able to kind of develop these graduate attributes. And I think once we had that kind of framework, that allowed us to really propel and drive forward the Future Skills
Mhm.
program, which
Mhm.
is then that kind of embedding into the curriculum
Mhm.
and kind of weaving that through kind
Mhm.
of the student journey as well.
Okay.
So I would say we've been going on this kind of, it's been building momentum certainly for the last few years, and we've been rolling out kind of year by year of each level of the program
Yeah. And I remember
as
hearing
well.
you speak at an event earlier on in the year where you were describing that, this sense of incremental change and rollout and that serving
That's right.
people as you've kind of built it out.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So do you want to describe just a little bit more about what you're doing then to empower students to be able to, from a skills perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So through the Future Skills program, as I was just kind of touching on,
Yeah.
what we have done is to embed kind of skills development alongside work-related learning
Mhm.
as well at all levels of undergraduate study. So in their first year, kind of students are really the idea is it's called Navigate, and the idea is that they're starting to understand kind of how to identify their skills, what motivates them, what are their values, kind of how does that relate to kind of a work context,
Mhm.
and so it's really about understanding themselves,
Mhm.
and just starting to kind of tease out, I guess, that career thinking a little bit for them.
Mhm.
Um, and then, and also, sorry, kind of navigate, also really introducing them to those graduate attributes, getting them to understand what they mean, kind of what are they going to be developing as they move through kind of the next 3 years of their study as well. So kind of because the graduate attributes are embedded across all levels,
Mhm.
how are they going to be developing that? What does that mean to them? What might they kind of, what areas might they think about working on as part of that for themselves?
Mhm.
Then into the second year to explore, we are so explore is the second year module.
Okay.
And that really brings in industry. That's when we start to kind of get the industry focus
Mhm,
into the program. And that's really exciting. So we have an element called an Explore Experience,
mhm,
where we get industry partners to come and maybe set a live brief, do some shadowing, kind of students can go on site visits, kind of really start to learn beyond the classroom and kind of
mhm.
get that experience
Experiential.
of absolute, yeah, really crucial for their development. And also, and kind of all as part of that, all the way through is kind of reflecting on what skills they're learning, they're developing, how that's relating to the graduate attributes that we have. Um, and as they move through kind of the second year, they also do a mock assessment centre.
Mhm, mhm,
We work with one of our partners called GradCore, who do all of our kind of a mock assessment centre experiences. So all of our second year students will do this. So it's an in-person, and they get to do a presentation, a group exercise, and an interview with real assessors, so from industry assessors as well, which is really exciting. So they then get tailored feedback on that, and that feedback is again tailored against the graduate attributes. So as
mhm,
they move through their second year, they've had some really, really great experience, but
mhm,
then also they're getting some feedback from an assessment process
mhm,
from real assessors against their graduate attributes.
mhm.
So it's kind of scaffolding. So we're building kind of, it's really kind of it picks up kind of momentum.
Yeah.
Um, and then as we move into into their final year, so we prototyped the final year, the level three, which is called Apply. We prototyped that last year.
Mhm,
Um, and we'll be rolling it out fully in September this year. This element is actually really exciting. And so kind of students coming out of their second year of the program with a bit of an understanding of where they're at in terms of their graduate attributes, kind of where their skills are. Um, and then they come into their final year. And so we've been working with yourselves at Cappfinity and with your skills discovery
mhm,
platform.
mhm,
And we used it on our prototype last year. I'm really excited to be rolling it out for the full rollout this year as well. So 2,500 students will be using that this year.
mhm,
And so they're coming out of that kind of mock assessment center experience, gaining that knowledge from kind of from that, then going and doing the skills discovery platform and kind of doing that piece of work. And so really at this point, kind of it becomes kind of like around knowledge is power for us. And, that's how we really are empowering our students, is to
mhm,
really give them the knowledge and the understanding
mhm,
of where their skills are, like where are they lying, what
mhm,
might they need to be working on as they move through their final year, and kind of
mhm,
now starting to kind of fix their view on the horizon a little bit and thinking
mhm,
about kind of
mhm,
what they need, where do they want to get to, and what do they need to do to get there.
mhm,
And so as we move into kind of the final year of the program, we will be rolling out as I say in September. Students will have the opportunity to curate their own module a little bit, and so they're going to be able to pick elements from a menu, and they'll have coaching sessions, and they'll be able to kind of develop the skills that they feel they need to
mhm,
work on, which is
mhm,
also really exciting. Again, there'll be lots of different ways for them to do that. Work-related learning opportunities, masterclasses, workshops, kind of those types of things. So really kind of actually putting the onus on them to take hold of their own development and go forward with that as
mhm.
well.
Oh, I love it. I think it's so, honestly, it's so inspiring. And I think from what I see, most of my work is predominantly within organizations. It's just like the level of like volatility and how people are having to navigate that complexity, ambiguity, volatility, career
Mm,
pathways looking different, industries looking different. I think it's exceptional the work that you're doing to equip students with that broader perspective and that expertise around their skills, beyond the technical content that they're learning. Yeah, it's really, really amazing. Just finally, because I know that you have had some amazing results, anything around the impact that you've seen anecdotally?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are kind of hearing kind of from our students. So when they are particularly through the mock assessment centres, the kind of the more experiential kind of
Yeah.
elements of the program,
Hmm.
we are starting to hear like wonderful stories of students going into real interview scenarios where they are like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize when I was going into the mock assessment actually how important the practice would be and how important the feedback would be for me. I felt so much more confident going into, you
Yeah.
know, the real life scenarios. I was able to articulate kind of what I you know, the skills and experience that I've developed. And that is honestly, that's the stuff that gets us out of bed in the morning. That is exactly why we're doing it. You know, students are
Yeah.
starting to secure internships off the back of the explore experiences we've done with them, for example, with where we've actually had the industry partners come in. And that is exactly kind of why we do what we do. And it's to really build kind of their confidence and their skills in that area. Um, we are also kind of slightly, we have some data coming through as well now. So it's slow to kind of come through initially and the data, but as we're kind of starting to get further into the program, we do have some data coming through. And really excitingly, in one of our level 4 modules, the attainment gap between Black and white students, where we've seen that in one particular module has actually reversed. So we actually have seen kind of our Black students in on that particular module actually now outperforming kind of their white counterparts, which is incredible to see, and kind of, I guess, real confirmation that kind
Mm.
of what we set out to do is starting to take effect. And you know, the aim will be to build on that and to kind of build on that momentum as we go forward.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Olivia, so much for just sharing briefly a bit more about the work you're doing. I know things don't really stand still very long at Kingston, so excited to see what next year holds and the year after. And I think the fact that your backdrop there, the angle looking at the sky is incidents. I think what you're doing to help students to aim for the, sky's the limit for your students is really amazing. So best of luck with the continued work. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for sharing your story. Obviously, if anyone wants to hear more from you, you're tagged in the LinkedIn post, and I know you're always open for sharing and connecting. But otherwise, thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Celine. Thanks for having me on.